this necessity to move in an entrepreneurial direction, it potentially has implications for the way we do a lot of things. Schools, the way we work as a region, government, and I know there's a bit of a lag time, but it seems somewhat obvious that there's movement now.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it does affect everything. You know, how do we train students in school? When I graduated from college, the expectation was that I would find the largest company I could and go to work there. And if you train people with that expectation, you train them one way. If you're training them to do something entrepreneurial, to go into a startup or a small company situation, you train them differently. The courses are different, but also you create different expectations in them in what a successful career is. Mm-hmm. And it goes through to how the government deals with businesses. What we do as far as our economic development as a region, how we focus it. Do we focus it on large projects that can bring 10,000 jobs each, or do we focus it on 100 projects that can bring 100 jobs each? Mm-hmm. And so it really is a change in mindset, and it affects everything we do as a region.
Mm-hmm. Do you see do you see other? And I think it's a fair question to ask. You've taken on leadership challenge in your arena. Do you see other leaders in this region sort of rising to that occasion, or at least starting to change the way they do business, or having the potential to change?
I think there's absolutely the potential to change. I think there's been a greater realization over the past 24 months than ever, and there are a number of organizations who have been ahead of the curve, and I think there are a whole lot of organizations now that are working to get up to speed, mm-hmm. and are working to change the way they do business, realizing that the days of plants that hire 10,000 or 20,000 people are gone, and what we're going to look like going forward, what success is going to mean going forward is mm-hmm. very different.
Mm-hmm. A lot of people talk about the entrepreneurial spirit that launched and kept transforming this region. Mm-hmm. I'm really struck by that. I look at the housing that we have and the sort of artisan movement that came out of the craftsmen, and they created a brand of housing that's unlike anything else in the world. What can the past tell us about the resiliency, and what do we build from that we've already been through in this region?
Well, we've been through it. It was a long time ago for most of our great entrepreneurship was a long time ago, and I think we've forgotten a lot about it. And we don't always have the sense of history. You know, I think a lot of people, in my generation think of GM, Ford, and Chrysler as always having been there. Mm-hmm. But if you step back, you see, I mean, these were crazy ideas at some point, really revolutionary things. And it's as you look back at the history of the region, you realize how many important things that we take for granted now. The first of that happened in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Whether it's the first radio station, the first freeway, the first mass production assembly line, all these things were new ideas that were created here. And the entrepreneurship in the last several decades has been in more non-traditional areas. Certainly in the entertainment area, Detroit had a heyday of entrepreneurship that we didn't really build on it necessarily. It happened pretty organically, and it meant a lot. But there are groups now who are looking at, for instance, entertainment and saying, okay, how can we take what we did in the 60s and the 50s mm-hmm. and if not formalize it, how can we support it so that we can really use it as an economic driver?